The story is titled, Am I the Astronaut If I Break Up with My Girlfriend for How She Treated a Food Service Worker? Ooh. I mean, I think it's how people treat food service workers is a good barometer of who they really are. I, 29 male, and my girlfriend, 32 female, let's call her Casey, have been together for 7 months. We met at a local bar and we hit it off right away. After 4 months together, we decided to move in together. We love to go out to dinner, concerts, and travel when we can. We hardly ever get into arguments, and Casey is a sweet, loving, and caring girlfriend. I have never really seen her get angry until this past weekend. We decided to go visit our local county fair last weekend. We were excited about some of the musical acts, enjoying playing the various fair games, and of course, all of the fair food. Like most county fairs, the food was made up of multiple food trucks that were local to the area. For some context, neither of us are particular picky eaters, but Casey absolutely hates onions. So much so, she can't stand the smell, touch, or texture of them. When she orders food, she almost always makes sure to ask if there are onions on it and politely asks to have it made without them. One of our local food trucks is a Philly cheesesteak truck, and they make the best cheesesteaks. Suddenly, cheesesteaks sound really good. Casey and I have both had their sandwiches on multiple occasions, and we have loved them every time. Cheesesteaks consist of the meat, cheese, peppers, and onions. The previous times that we have ordered, I always make sure to order hers with no onions. We wait our turn in line, and we make it up to the window. Casey asked if I wanted my usual, and I said yes. She then turned to the young lady in the window and said, "We'll have 2 Philly cheesesteaks, please." Now, this is where I had a brain fart. I don't know if I was daydreaming or just not paying attention, but I didn't even notice that she didn't say no onions. This is where things start to unravel. We picked up our sandwiches from the window and went to a picnic table. Casey took 1 bite and then spit out her sandwich and yelled, "What the f***? There were onions in this!" I don't know why I had to use that voice, I just did. I was so surprised at her reaction because it was so different than how she usually reacts if her order gets messed up. She immediately got up and stormed over to the food truck, cut in front of everyone, and started knocking on the window. She then proceeded to yell at the worker that took our order and saying, "I ordered this with no onions. Those effing sandwiches have onions." The worker started apologizing, and Casey continued to yell at her and telling her that this is unacceptable, that they would screw up on the order, and demanded a new one. The worker apologized, offered her a refund, and they began to make Casey a new sandwich. At this point, she had caused quite a scene, and everyone in the immediate area was silent and staring. And I did notice a couple phones recording the whole incident. I'm sure it will be on TikTok somewhere. We must find this. We must find this. I honestly stood there in shock at what just happened. I had never seen Casey act like that before. I didn't know what to think. Casey returned to the picnic table, sat down, looked at me and said, "Well, thanks for all your help." I didn't know what to say. Then I remembered that I never heard her say no onions. I told her that, and she said, "I don't know what I'm talking about." We sat in silence until the food truck worker came out and brought Casey a new sandwich. She once again apologized to Casey, who didn't say a word, and turned and started to walk back to the food truck. Thankfully, this awkward incident was over. Or so I thought. As the worker was walking back to the food truck, all of a sudden Casey yells, "Where are the freaking peppers?" The food truck worker stopped in her tracks. Casey got up with the sandwich in hand and walked right up to the worker. She started berating her. "How could you F up my sandwich twice, you idiot?" The food truck worker, who maybe was mid-20s, probably a college student, looked mortified and scared. She kept apologizing, and Casey was having none of it. She kept going off saying things like, "How hard is it to make an effing sandwich?" among other things. But then she said the thing that stood out the most to me. "No wonder you're working at a food truck. You don't even know how to take an order the right way. Good luck working a dead-end job the rest of your life, dumbass." Whoa, dude. Like, she went for it. She went for it. Yeah. She threw the sandwich at the worker's feet, stormed back to the table, grabbed her purse, and said, "Let's go." I was so shocked at what I had seen. I looked back at the worker and mouthed, "I'm sorry," and followed Casey to the car. I know that I should have done more, but I was honestly so shocked I couldn't even process my thoughts. We got in the car and had a silent ride home. When we pulled in the driveway, before we got out, I looked at her and said, "What was that?" She said, "What? Oh, the sandwich thing? The dumbasses screwed it up. At least they gave my money back." And then she got out of the car. We haven't talked much since this happened, but she is acting like nothing is wrong. I don't know what to do. The Casey from the fair is not the same Casey I've fallen in love with. I can't even look at her the same. I don't know what made her talk to someone like that. I have worked in food service multiple times and know how it feels to deal with difficult people, so I always try to treat my servers with respect and give them the benefit of the doubt. The irony in all of this is that Casey works an entry-level retail job. There's nothing wrong with that at all, and probably doesn't make much more than the food truck worker. I have a good paying job in business, and I pay almost all of our bills, which I don't mind, and have never made Casey feel bad about it. So now I'm torn. I don't know where to go from here. I love Casey, but that is not the type of person I want to be with. It may have been an isolated incident, but what if it becomes more frequent? I'm confused, upset, and heartbroken. So am I the astronaut if I break up with her because of how she treated the food truck worker? I mean, no, you wouldn't be. The weird thing here is that, yes, as far as your observation levels go right now, this is an isolated incident. I would want to know why. And yeah, you ask what happened and she's acting like nothing is wrong now, but I think the conversation would be like, look, I need to have a serious conversation with you about this. And I guess the question here is like, how much do you like her? If you could figure out that there was a good reason for this and wherever this came from, it doesn't make it okay, but at least it adds some context. Is there anything that would make this okay enough for you to continue this relationship, and how badly do you want to do that? If you do want to do that pretty bad and you want to make this work, I would at least sit down and have a conversation and be like, look, what I saw has me scared, and I don't want to be with someone who's capable of doing things like that. Before making a huge decision about our relationship, I want to have a conversation with you and give you the opportunity to provide me with some context. Like, what drove that? What made that happen? Is this something that you feel or do often? Because I haven't seen that from you to this point, and it seems really out of character. Explain it to me. Help me understand it. And if she can't, then she can't. And that tells you everything you need to know. But there could be something big going on behind the scenes that you don't understand. And again, it doesn't make it okay. Nothing about this makes the way she just treated people okay. Let's say she has a really good reason for it. Like maybe something crazy was happening with her family or something that she doesn't want to tell you about. If there is some kind of thing that drove that, I would want her to open up to you and communicate with you about those things so that you can help her through them and not let her get to a point where she has to have an outburst like that. The fact that she's capable of that is a huge red flag. Yes, and we'll go ahead and do this for you. Again, it is a huge red flag, and I think it'd be worth telling her that. You could just break up with her and run right now, and you have every right to do that. However, I think you could also go through this deeper conversation and be like, hey, what's the deal here? What drove it? Help me understand, because I like you. We've had a great time together, and I don't think this is who you are, but what I saw scares me. I need some context here. You're NTA for wanting to break up with her, but you do have other options, and the choice is yours. And I would say, put yourself in the reverse situation and be like, look, if I just lost my shit one day and I acted in a way that was completely inappropriate, would the person who is with me have every right to just leave? Yeah. What would I hope they would do, though? I would hope that they would have a conversation with me and be a true partner in this moment and try to help me get through this thing rather than leave me because of this thing. And like right now, if Candy Thunder and I, one of us has a really shitty day and we snap at someone that we would have never snapped at before, there's probably something behind it that we need to have a conversation about. So it's up to you. It's up to you how you want to play that. It could be something that he could help her prevent if he wanted to. If just the capacity or the ability to act that way is a deal breaker, then it's a deal breaker. I feel like if that happened, I would want to know more, at least. And it could be in the conversation you have where you're like, hey, I'm leaving because this scares the shit out of me. However, I want to understand more here.